Okay, guys. Today we're going to talk about how to do master keying, or how to do the progression of master keying. Um, what that is basically how do you work the math when you're creating a master key system, right? So think of it this way: I'm gonna have to pick a certain. It depends on the type of lock you're doing, right? So we're gonna do a Schlage system today. We're talking about Schlage only. We're talking about an SC4 keyway, which has 6 cuts on the key, right? So we're talking about 6 cuts on a key. And I just told you we're gonna use SC4, which is a standard Schlage key, commercial key. So this is a pin kit, right? Master pin kit. Not a master pin kit, a lab pin kit, sorry. That's a 300 increments kit. They also have 500 increments kits. We use the 300. So we will be using Schlage, right? For the example today, I'm going to put a red thing here so it's easy for your eye to go back to it. We're going to be using a Schlage system, right? So first things first is you need to know what this means here, and then I'll go into how progression works. So basically you have, in a Schlage key on SC4, you have 9 different depths. Well, 10, because a 0 is a depth, too. So we have a 0 cut, a 1 cut, a 2 cut, a 3 cut, a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Now, on the key, if it's a 0 cut, it's not cutting the key, right? So you have 6 cuts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on that key. And then how deep on that cut, how deep on the second cut, how deep on the third, how deep on the fourth, right? So if you do a 0 cut, there's no depth, right? If you do a 1 cut, then it's a little bit deeper on the key. And then a 2 cut's a little deeper, 3's a little deeper, 4's a little deeper. And then with each one of those cuts, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, if it's a 1 cut, then the corresponding pin that you put in for a 1 cut inside of the lock that corresponds to the key is a 0.180, right? Or if it's a 4 cut, then you put in a 0.225 pin, which is right here, 0.225 pin. So we're dealing with a Schlage system. The key itself has 6 cuts and has 10 depths. So we're going to go ahead and build it up on here using the math, just talking about the cuts of the key and how to progress that out so that you can get multiple different change keys and key multiple different locks at different keys, so that you have a master that overrides them all, right? So that's what we're going to do, is work the math on the key system with the progression style. Right? So this is a SC1, which is a 5-cut key. It just means it has 5 cuts in the key. And SC4 has 6. So right now, for demo purposes, I'm going to pretend it's a 6-cut key and just give you 6 cuts instead of 5. If you look on this key, it has the 5 cuts listed right there. It says, you can't read it, 8, 7, 4, 6, 6, right there. Those are the cuts on the key. 8, 7, 4, 6, 6. The deepest cut's an 8, and there's a 7, and there's a 4, and there's a 6, and there's a 6. Those are the numbers we're referring to whenever I start talking about the keys, right? So, first things first, before we do anything, right? What we're trying to do is, just in case for the people there's some people probably that are watching this that are in the trade, probably trying to learn how to do this. And there might be some people that are just watching for general interest. So I got to make sure I explain some of these things that might be common sense to the locksmiths, but not to the other people. So I'm going to pick. So the point of doing this is to progress out so that I can work out all the math and create a bunch of different keys underneath the master, so that when I pin up the cylinders, all these keys can work, right? So I'm creating a system so that if I had, say, 20 offices, where I can make all 20 offices have a separate key, but the master can work all 20 offices, right? So that's what the point of this whole thing is to work out the math. And once you have the math, then you say, okay, well, I'm going to take these cuts and make this key. I'm going to take these cuts and make that key, right? And that's how it works. So first things first is I need to pick my master key cuts. What cuts am I going to give that master key? Well, you know I have 6 cuts in the key, right? Because if it's an SC4 key, right? SC4 key has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cuts. Okay? So there's 6 cuts. This is the first chamber, the second chamber, the third chamber, the fourth chamber, the fifth chamber, the sixth chamber. So if you were to stick in a key into the cylinder, right? Each of the cuts line up on each one of the keys like that. This is for people who aren't in the trade. Some of this I know I'm spelling it out a little too much. So anyway, SE4 key has 6 different cuts on that key. Now my job is to pick those 6 cuts, and that I will make my master key of the system. Then I'm going to work the math with the progression, how I do the progression, and that's going to give me all the different possibilities of different cuts I can use for the other keys. And then there's the math of how to make, once you have those keys, I have all these different keys and I have the master. You pick one of those keys and you pick your master, and you key those 2 keys up to a lock so both keys can work. And that's after this. So anyway, let's start with picking the master cuts. Now, one thing I have to be aware of when I pick my cuts here and whenever I do my math is something called max adjacent cuts. Okay? So right in here, you can zoom in next to that red arrow right there. It says MACS equals 7. That's max adjacent cuts. Meaning, over here, meaning if my cuts are 1 here in the first chamber and I go to 9, that means the cut adjacent to this one, which will be this, cannot be more than 7, right? So if I go from a 1 to a 9, that's an 8 cut difference. That's over the max adjacent cuts allowed. So I can't use that. I can't go from a 1 to a 9. I can go to a 1 to an 8. That's as far as I can go, but I can't go from a 1 to a 9 because that's 8 cut differences. When it says my max adjacent cuts is only 7. Okay? So that's what that means. And the reason being is when you stick in if you have a 1 cut and then you have a 9 and then say you have another 1, well, when you're trying to stick that key in the cylinder, it's going, I got super shallow pin, super deep pin, super shallow pin. And it kind of jams up going in there. Sometimes it gets stuck. And that's why. And then on top of it, when you cut and duplicate keys, that cut's so deep that it makes a wider cut out of the key that sometimes bleeds over into the smaller cuts. So that's why they have these rules of max adjacent cuts. What's the maximum difference I can go from one cut to another? Okay? That's max adjacent cuts. And I can write that over here. Max adjacent cuts is 7. Okay? And that way you know. So usually when you're picking your master cuts, I've heard some things before. Well, let's just start with picking the cuts first. Then we'll go that way. So I'm going to go ahead and just make up things, right? I know that I can use anywhere from 0 to 9. Any of these numbers can be 0 or 9. So and usually I go even, odd, even, odd, even, odd, or odd, even, odd, even, odd, even. It just makes it better for shear lines. And it just makes it better to do it that way. You don't have to do it that way. I've heard people say you have to do it that way. Well, you don't have to. So anyway, there may be some systems where you have to make it work right. If you're trying to maximize everything in a huge system and get every cut possible. But if we're talking about 100 cuts or less or stuff like that, you really don't have to worry about that. Anyway, so let's say I'm just going to use a 4 even. We'll go with odd 5. Another even one, I'll do a 2. And then odd, I'll go to a 3. And then another even, I can do a 0 if I wanted to. And then I can do a 3. Right? So none of that is over my max adjacent cuts. So you have to think of it like this. This is the pin in your first chamber that interacts with that cut. This is the pin of the second chamber that interacts with the second cut. Okay? Just like that. Now, this we end up making our grand master, right? Your master key. This is your master key right here. So my job now is to work the math, progress the chambers, and show you what all the different possibilities are. Now, no cut in the master key, okay, is used in any of these change keys. Because when we key the cylinder up, this key is going to override everything. So I can't share one of the master cuts with any of these chambers because then it will override everything in that chamber for every lock because I'm sharing the master cuts. So what I have to do here is based off the 0 to 9 cuts that I have. If it's even, I progress all the evens. If it's odd, I progress all the odds. And we're doing a 2-step progression, meaning it goes from 4 to 6 to 8. No, it doesn't go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are two cut differences. So for one, let's see, there's some things to watch out for. No cut in the master key can be used down here. Okay, that's number one. Number two, it has to be a difference. We're going in 2-step increments. Okay. Number three is, and then number three is the master key needs to use some kind of an even odd kind of pattern, or odd even pattern. Doesn't absolutely have to, but it's recommended kind of thing. That's to avoid easy shear lines and things like that. And I've also heard before that, and I don't know, I haven't verified this or anything, but I've heard before that someone said that, a few people have said this actually, that you should have at least a 1 or a 0 depth, or the shallowest available cut in the key. Well, I just don't happen to have the shallowest cut available, 0. It doesn't have to be there though. But anyway, so as long as you follow those general rules. So right now, what I'm doing in here, I'm saying, okay, a 4 cut is the master cut. So now I have to progress all the evens out. And then in the odd chamber, I'm going to progress out all the odds. So here I'm going to go 4, 6, 8, 0, 2. Okay, that's the first chamber. Second chamber, third chamber, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Okay? And to make it easier on your eyes, I do it kind of like this. That way you can easily see everything. So in this chamber, I can use 4, a 6, an 8, a 0, or a 2 cut, because they're all evens. In this chamber, I can use a 5, a 7, a 9, a 1, or a 3. And I'm going in the next order, so from a 4 to a 6 to an 8, a 5 to a 7 to a 9. And from a 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, 0. And then 3, 5, 7, 9, 1, and 0 would go 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. 3 would go 5, 7, 9, 1. Okay? So, what we're doing so these are my master cuts right here, okay? So, those are the master cuts. Now, what I need to do is say, we're going to do, this is how you progress it all out, right? Now, say I need to come up with 20 changes, right? I need 20 different keys to work under this master, right? So I need to come up with 20 here. I need to work it out and come up with 20 different combinations so that I can use those 20 keys for 20 different offices, right? So let me go ahead and make some room here real quick, and then we'll start progressing. All right, so I went ahead and took here's our master cuts. Here's our progression, our cuts to, this is our possibilities, okay? Now, how do I use this chart, right? You kind of saw how I got to this point, right? So the point of this is, say I have an office building, okay? And I have one office number 1, office number 2, 3, 4. Let me just write this real quick. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm gonna be here for the rest of them. This is a good little exercise to do. I've done this many times over, and I've showed people many times over how to do it. Right? So we're not gonna have to progress much more than the last 2 chambers, but we're just gonna go in order in general. So this is how it works, right? I could pick any of these cuts to be. So just think of it like this: these cuts right here is one key, and that is the master key. Now I need to create a key for room number 1. Okay, well I can use 6, 7, 4, 5, 2, 5. It's available. That cut's available. Then, once I do that, I'm progressing the last 2 chambers. I'd go, if I use that as my first cut, then I say my next one's going to be 6, 7, 4, 5, 2, 7. Okay? So like that. So I would say 6, 7, 4, 5, 2, 5. And I take those cuts, and I take the master cuts, and I take both of those keys once they're cut, I do my math, I pin up the cylinder, and both those keys should work, which I haven't showed you how to do the math. I'm just showing you how to pick out the numbers right now. So, that's the first one, right? So, what's the next one? Well, 6, 7, 4, 5, 2, 7. Okay, so 6, 7, 4, 5, 2, 7. What's the next one? 6, 7, 4, 5, 2, 9. Pay attention, don't forget about our max adjacents. Going from a 2 to a 9 is 7, so we're still good. So same thing, your third room, think of these as rooms, right? We're going to key that one to the key 6, 7, 4, 5, 2, 9. Then, the next room, 6, 7, 4, 5, 2, 1. 6, 7, 4, 5, 2, 1. Okay? Next one, 6, 7, 4, 5. Can't go into anything else, so I go 6, 7, 4, 5, 4, 5. 6, 7, 4, 5, 4, 5. 6, 7, 4, 5, 4, 7. Fairly simple. You get the pattern now? 6, 7, 4, 5, 4, 7. And the same thing for 9, right? 6, 7, 4, 5, 4, 9. Then 6, 7, 4, 5, 4, 1. Okay. And then after that, I'd go 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 5. 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 5. And then 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 9. And then 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 1. And then 6, 7, 4, 5, 8, 5. 6, 7, 4, 5, 8, 5. And these are all different cuts that can mathematically work when pinning together with the GM. So we got 6, 7, 4, 5, 8, 7. 6, 7, 4, 5, 8, 9. 6, 7, 4, 5, 8, 1. And then you're going, oh, we ran out. We can't go anywhere else. Well, we'll just go to the next one. We're already done progressing those last two chambers. We've used everything. So then I can go 6, 7, 4, 5. I'm sorry, 6, 7, 4, 7, 2, 5. And then 7, 2, 7, 7, 2, 9, 7, 2, 1. 9, 2, 5, 9, 2, 7, 9, 2, 9, 9, 2. See how there's more and more possibilities as you go. So after this one, after the 5, 8, 1, I've already used all these chambers up. So now I gotta go from 5 here to the next point. So 6, 7, 4, 7. So 6, 7, 4, 7, 2, 5. And then 6, 7, 4, 7, 2, 7. 6, 7, 4, 7, 2, 9. Yeah. And then 6, 7, 4, 7, 2, 1. Okay? And it's the same thing. And then after you went all the way down to 6, 7, 4, 1, 8, 1, which would be the last, then you're going to have to go to progressing this chamber. And then move out. And you see it ends up being more and more and more and more as you go. Right? But you just have to be aware of not going from, you can't pick, like if you want to pick anything out of here, you can pick anything you want. You'd be like, I'm going to use a 2, a 7, a 0, a 5. It doesn't matter. You just have to keep track of it. And it's easy to keep track of it if you kind of go in order. If you start jumping all over the place, you're going to have to write all this down and make sure you keep it all organized, which you should anyway. But anyway, what you do if you're picking cuts though, eventually you're going to get to where your possibility goes from, I need to do a 0, 9. Oh, I can't use that one. Sorry, I have to, because that's the max adjacent that's over it. So you'd have to say, I can't go from a 0, 9 at all. So I have to skip that 9 and go to a 0, 1, or 0, 7, or 0, 3. I cannot go from a 0 to a 9. Anyway, I just gave you 20 possibilities, right? 20 rooms. You have a master key. I cut that master, and then I cut number 1 key. I stamp number 1 on that key, and I cut a number 2 key, I stamp number 2 on that key, and I got 20 keys laid out, right? Then it comes to doing the actual math, which is not really what I'm just showing you how to progress a master key system, how to create it, which I just did. But I'll go ahead and show you how the math would work on a cylinder just really quickly, and then we'll wrap this video up. So let's say I'm in my truck right now and I'm keying all these cylinders up. Okay, this is for room 1. I got my room 1 key, I got my master key. Let me key these up with the pins, put them in there. Works good. Now I'm going to go on to a number 2 key, right? So let's say we're starting with number 1. So first thing I take is I'm gonna get down here like this. I get my master cuts, right? Master cuts are 4, 5, 2, 3, 0, 3. Okay? And then whatever key I want to key it to, we'll start with the first one, 6, 7, 4, 5, 2, 5. I put down my change key, okay? 6, 7, 4, 5, 2, 5. And then I say, all right, I need to key this cylinder up because this cylinder, which is for room number 1, needs to work on my master and my room number 1 key. So, very simple. Bottom pins, top pins, okay? A bottom pin, if you're a locksmith, sorry, some of this might be boring. If it's a bottom pin, right, your bottom pins look like this. They're flat on the sides, and then they kind of bevel in at the bottom, okay? And then that's your bottom pins, okay? Then typically you have a driver pin, okay? And this is your bottom pin, okay? And then you have a spring above that, right? So on a typical cylinder, if I'm just keying it up to 1 key, you're gonna have a bottom pin, which is, if I have a 3 cut, then I put a 3 pin in there, and then the driver and the spring will push that 3 pin into the crevice of the key, and once this lines up, when all the pins line up right, it'll turn. So when you're master keying though, you don't deal with just bottom pins. The driver and the spring is always in the cylinder. So you don't just put in a bottom pin that matches the cut in the key when you're master keying. You have to put the bottom pin, then a master pin on top of the bottom pin. And a master pin is flat on both sides and fits in between the driver and the bottom pin, okay? So if this is a 3 bottom pin and a 2 master pin, and this is in 1 chamber, that means a 3 in the first position on the key will work, or add together, a 5 will also work in the first chamber. And that's why we use 2, we go 2 numbers difference, because the first master pin you can use, the smallest master pin you can use, is a 2 master pin. You can't go from a 3 cut to a 4 cut with master pin. You have to be a 3 to a 5 or 3 to something else. So you have a bottom pin, master pin, and driver, right? So I'm trying to find out what my bottom pin and what my top pin, otherwise known as your master pin, right? So the master pin is that top pin. So in this case, I say, all right, I take the lowest of the 2, right, in each chamber. Okay, I say, all right, well, the bottom pin for this chamber is going to be a 4, because my lowest cut is a 4. And to make the other key work, I have to take the difference, which is a 2 difference. 4 to a 6 is 2. So in my cylinder, I put a 4 bottom pin and a 2 master pin on top of it. Simple. Same thing for pretty much all these, because I picked the first key available, which is all just 2 differences. So it's literally just a 5, 2 difference top pin. 2 bottom pins, I take the lowest and the difference. Lowest, difference. Lowest, difference, lowest, difference. Right? So when I'm pinning up that lock, I'd say, okay, come on over here real quick. I'd say, all right, my first chamber, I need a bottom pin 4 and a top pin 2. So I put my bottom pin in, 0.225, which is, if you notice right here, it says bottom pin, right? And then it says master pin. I put my 4 bottom pin in, and then I put a 2 master pin in, which is a 0.30, sorry. Okay? And that's what those numbers correspond to. So if I pin up my lock to this, both those keys are going to work. My number 1 key and my master are going to work it. And then I repeat the same thing for all the other ones. So I'm going to do one more that's not just so clean cut, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. I'll pick this last cut right here. So let's say if I have my master, so let's ignore this. Okay, I have my master key and my change key. My master key is always the same, 4, 5, 2, 3, 0, 3. My change key is going to be 674721. I need my bottom pin and my top and my master pin. Okay. It's lowest is a 4, difference is a 2. Lowest is a 5, difference is a 2. Lowest is a 2, difference is a 2. Lowest is a 3, difference is a 4. Lowest is a 0, 2 is the difference. Lowest is a 1, 2 is the difference. I think that's the only thing that changed in there. So this way, when those pins stack, either one of those keys will work. And you can do the same thing for 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 keys, whatever you need to do. You just do the same thing. Lowest, difference to the next highest, difference to the next highest in the same chamber. Just repeat. So this is how you progress out a master key system. This is how you get all your different possibilities. Then we can go on a little deeper. I have a thick, let me grab this book right here out of the picture real quick. This is how much things you can do with master keying. See how thick this book is? Okay. Here's a book right here. Fundamentals of Master Keying. Introduction to Split Pin Master Keying by Jerome Andrews. So this book, you can do some really crazy stuff with master keying. If there's 10 levels to master keying, I'm probably at level 5. Which level 5 gets you 95% of the way there for all the time, right? But there's a lot of really cool things you know once you really dig into it. And you can tell in this, there is a ton of different crazy things you can do when you're pinning up cylinders. And there's just all kinds of information in here. So it's a great book, you should check it out. Now, this is how you progress it. You can also get into more complicated things like, all right, I have 20 rooms here in the HR department. I got 20 rooms in the ER department, 20 rooms in the admin department, whatever, right? And you're like, okay, I need a master that works everything. But each department needs a submaster. And that submaster is going to work everything in that department only. So that means there's a master that works everything in the whole building. There's a master that works just that department. The headmaster works, the grandmaster works, the submaster for that department works, and then each individual key for its own room works, right? But both of the masters override every room in that department. So you can get real creative with it. When we go do like hospitals and things like that, they may have thousands of rooms, right? But they have one master key that works every single lock in that whole building. But each room has its own key. And maybe each department might even have a submaster under that. So it's all how you pin it up and how you design the system as to what you can do with it. But hopefully this helps you understand it a little bit more. We can go on days and days on this and all kinds of crazy stuff you can do with it. But this is how you generally progress a system and how you come up with your chart for master key. So hopefully this helped you understand it. Hopefully it didn't confuse you. It's a very big subject. And like I said, that was over an inch thick, So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate the support as always. Don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, all the above. We're on all the social media platforms. LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. We're on there. We appreciate the support as always. Thanks for tuning in.